All right. Hello. I feel pretty meh right now, and I'm going to do a video anyways. So here I am. The point is not to have it perfect, but just to keep doing it every single day. And the fact that I feel just not amazing, that's kind of the whole point, is to go to the very bottom of my emotional well, you know, I'm not quite at the very bottom, but it's one of those days where I would rather just sit around watching videos and anything else, really. I got really tired earlier, just knocked me out. And then, so I'm always a little discombobulated after that. But here I am. Okay. Hmm. What does effortless peak performance mean? Well, right now, I don't feel like I am in peak performance, but that is just the ground that I'm on. The question is, what do I do with the ground, not what ground that I am on? That's not correct either, though. There is something I can do about it. And now I'm confused. I'm not confused. This happens when I am in my emotional well. I question myself, self doubt, all these things. And all I have to do, I don't know why I said that. I'm just going to sit here with it. And now I'm in freeze. Okay, well, this feels very familiar. Right. Kind of a catch-22. Do I speak? Do I not? Do I push through? Do I say something interesting? My mind is kind of confused, but not confused. Hmm. Well, let me zoom back out. In moments like these, this becomes a record of how it feels in the moment. Because when I look back over these videos, I don't remember how it feels on the inside, so I have to say it. All right. So in this moment, just like earlier, I felt confused, but I'm also not confused because I know there's things I want to talk about. I know that I'm capable of talking about them in other circumstances. Oh, in other circumstances being days where I feel good. There's a voice that says, "Oh, what a great vocabulary you got." Yeah, it is, isn't it? No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Okay. So this is the strategy that I've been working on, and it is do both. You know, when this like mean internal voice comes in, it's like, "You're doing terrible." What do I do? Do I fight it? Or do I agree, agree and exaggerate? What if I did both? That's the fun part. Right? It's like, "Oh, that's a terrible vocabulary. All you know how to say is great." Yep, that's all the words I got. Agree. And then I could say, "Nope, I have. Why are you talking? I know. Hey, this is me. You're not talking. I'm talking." Hmm. Anyways, shadow puppet theater. Try to give my shadow a voice. Um, Coming back. Where was I? All right. Uh, to both agree and disagree playfully. So I'm going to try that out, right? You have a terrible vocabulary. I know, right? I'm like a 2-year-old, like good, bad. Hmm. And guess what? That's kind of the age I'm in. And then also not. No, I'm not. I have a great vocabulary. Yeah. Anxiety kind of steals away my IQ points pretty quickly. Now I'm bored. Okay, let's come back here. Ooh, do I feel awkward? Awkward. And lean into it. Ugh, feels terrible. Awkward. I'm gonna die. Awkward. Alright, so, um, yes and no is one way to respond to a shadow voice. Shadow. Let's say this is a shadow voice that comes up. We can respond with a yes, exaggerated, playfully, and no, it's not. You're so mean. And that kind of covers both possibilities. But now that I say it out loud, it seems kind of silly. Um, I'm gonna keep moving on. All right. Okay. So this is about the ahas that I've gotten from improv. So I went to improv yesterday and we played a few games. One of them is called Word Ball, right? It's basically when somebody gives me, we pass a word around, right? And you just say the very next word that comes to mind, right? So somebody gives me frog, I think of princess, and then I give princess to somebody, and then they hear princess and they think of Disney, and they give Disney to the next person. So we pass a single ball around, right? So this is called first thing, like the first thing that comes to mind, you just say that thing. And then we changed up the game a little bit. We did a game called This Makes Me Think Of, right? So instead of saying the first thing that comes to mind, we would say this entire chain. So instead of like ball, if somebody gives me a ball, it's like, okay, ball makes me think of baseball, which makes me think of, um, I don't know, army bases, right? So then I would go with army bases and I pass that over to the next person. So that is called last thing. So we say the last thing that is on our mind. Instead of the first thing, we say the last thing that's on our mind. And then we switched it up again, right? The other game we played is yes, because. So the other person gives us anything, like a generic statement, or not, well, with an emotion, right? Um, Somebody said like, "Oh, I hate bananas," right? To me, right? And then I would respond with, "Yes, because you were forced to eat bananas as a kid, and now you hate it." Right? So we're just making stuff up. It's not a real, but it's an exercise in creating the backstory of whatever the person is saying. So these are 3 improv exercises that I'm mapping out where they exist in the possibility plane. So, oh, another thing was that the teacher said that this would be a great exercise to use when we're in a scene and I am stuck, right? So it's like, oh, um, whatever, you take an object from the scene, like a couch, and then you're like, okay, what does a couch make me think of? Well, TV show Friends. And what does the TV show Friends make me think of? Like sitcoms or whatever, and I can go with that. It's like, oh, anyways, it's a way of uh, reactivating the the brain's auto generator, right? So, whew, I'm feeling pressure. I know that this pressure is completely inside myself right now in this very moment. The pressure to say the right things, to perform. I am bringing what's on the inside outside. That has been a big lesson, is what's on the inside outside. So I can either talk about the insights, or when the emotions hit me, again, I do these videos completely for myself as emotional strength training every single day. And I have good days and I have less good days, but they're all still just days, right? So I can either talk about things when I am free to talk about them, or when the emotion hits me, I can talk about the emotions, and there is simply no loss criteria in this exercise. Only if I don't do it. So I almost didn't. I was like, I don't want to do it today. I'm going to sound bad. And then that is the very exercise. I want to sound bad. Oh, and put that online for everyone to see. Terribleism, right? The fastest way to get good is to use up all the terrible as fast as possible. So this is good, right? If it's bad, it's good. If it's good, it's good. So therefore, it is good. Just good. The only thing that remains is good, right? So that's terribleism. Terribleism. Right. So use terribleism when I get stuck thinking I need it to be good, and I forget that being bad is the whole point. When I hesitate, when I trip on my words, when I think I'm only using like two variable, see, like that, perfect. More, give me more terribleness. Okay, let's go straight into it. This is also a log. I post this onto YouTube and it just stays there forever. It's a permanent log of the ideas that I've gone through. And in case anything happens to me, well, there it is. That's the record. So yesterday, I took these insights, right, and I plugged it into my computer. I plugged it into my robot, my AI, and I was asking it, it's like, okay, tell me about this structure. I can kind of feel it, I can kind of talk about it, but I don't quite see the edges of it. And here's the thing. I can argue with people, and I'm really good at it because I don't use effort. I use my truth sense, and I just know if I think it's right or not. I think we all have the same sense, and my ego is also in there to prove myself right. But when or if I lose an argument, yes, because then I will have corrected an error in my worldview. But I can't just give somebody a win. It just doesn't work when I simply think that they're not correct. So I argue with full gusto, and it's automatic. My emotions simply tell me either I'm right or I'm wrong, right? And I keep out the words just come out. It's effortless, right? So I have effortless arguing, right? And then so I'm working on. And then in improv classes, I'm working on just walking into a scene with nothing and trusting that something will come up. And that's the hardest thing. Like, don't think about something and then go in and act it out. It's like, that's not improv. That is going into a scene blank. And one of the games is to, like, we just move around with our bodies and get into a posture and then justify the posture with a scene that just comes up. It's like, and then last time I was in this pose, and then it was like, I'm looking up. It's like, robot overlords, please spare us. Like it just came. It just comes automatically, and that was like the most amazing feeling ever. It's effortless, and these scenes just come up. Of course, the moment we switched to performance, I started having trouble getting into that space, but that's a separate issue. Like performing under pressure is part of the game, right? But I'm still beginner. I'm still trying to access the fountain of improv, right? And part of accessing the improv is letting go of whether it's true or not. It's like it doesn't matter. Like, did that person really, hate bananas? I don't know. Did that person, were they fed too much bananas as a child? I don't know. That's not the point. The point is just to make something up and to practice the structure that our brain automatically does, which is we hear something and we automatically generate a reason. Oh yes, because, and that is simply one of the structures we can play with for improv. Okay, so I plugged all that into my robot companion, my ChatGPT, and I asked it, like, okay, help me get a hold of this, right? So I want to do things like improv games and exercises, but in most social situations, I can't just make everything up, right? That's not the container. I would need to tone down improv to fit within reality, but I can bend the rules a little bit in order to make it playful, to emphasize certain things, to create playful narratives, right? Sometimes it's like, somebody's name is Richard, and I go like, King Richard, like it's fun. So I gave ChatGPT these three frames, right? I can argue effortlessly already using my truth sense. I'm working on improvising effortlessly and just having whatever comes up. And by not adhering to reality, I can say whatever. I can say dragons, I can say aliens, I can say rocks speak or whatever, like it doesn't matter. That allows us to open up the fountain of creativity. And then I wanted to have a blend of the two for social situations. So I gave them my computer these things and asked it to generate a model, and this is the model that it generated. There's two axes. On one side is coherence, which is how true something is, right? So when I argue something, I I aim for absolutely high coherence. I either feel like it's true or it isn't. I can't just give somebody a win. I could, but if I'm in that mode, I don't, right? That would be lying. That would be low coherence, right? On the other axis is imagination. When I'm arguing, I have very low imagination. I'm simply testing my truth, my models. I don't create stuff, right? In improv, it's very high imagination, but very low truth, low coherence. That's why improv is here. This is play. So that creates two quadrants. And then what is a quadrant of low coherence and low imagination, right? That's the world of masking, right? It's a boring mask. If I'm just out and I'm just like, hey, how are you? Doing well. It's just like, neither of that is really true, and it has very low imagination. It's just kind of boring. That's why I don't like this realm. That's why nobody really likes this realm, but we don't really know how to get out of it, you know? So, this creates 3 quadrants, and then the mysterious fourth quadrant is the one I was looking for. It's like something that is not just like making everything up, and I'm not stuck with low imagination. So it's like I want to create little mini scenes with people. And one of the exercises that I've started playing with is like, here's an imaginary object. What is it? And somebody takes it and be like, oh, it's a bird. It's like, yes, I started adding to imagination. So these are the 4 quadrants of improvisation, of presence. I don't know what to call this. This is a brand new map, a brand new paradigm that has evolved from analyzing improv, right? Analyzing the 3 places, um, and it comes. Let me reel it back a little bit. This is the power of AI. Is I give it all these pieces that I kind of feel like fit in a puzzle, and I asked it to extrapolate the pattern underneath these situations. That's what it's good for. And it gave me this, right? This model makes sense perfectly, right? High truth, but low imagination is arguments. High imagination, but low truth is improv. Low truth and low imagination is just boring. This is the sweet spot that I'm looking for. Okay, so now I always want to ask it to extrapolate further. Like, okay, now that we have this model, I want you to take this model and extrapolate it to everything that I've been working on, all of Enlightened Mastery universe, all university, everything. Create a model, expand it into that, and it created this, these 4 words. And apparently this is what I've been doing in all the situations. So it's these 4 words: notice, accept, accept the reality as it is, play, create multiple different possibilities of the future we could live into, and then act. Pick one of them and collapse the probability wave, right? And we're always doing this. So these are the 4 primary words that lock in everything that I've been doing. And ChatGPT was able to derive that from me talking about how I can argue without effort using truth sense. I'm working on improvising without effort, just walking in blank and having something come out, right? And it created these axes, X and Y, and then it created these 4 words. So let me try to line them up, right? I think this is how they line up. Notice, when I notice I'm just masking, it's kind of boring, right? I want to accept reality as it is. When I feel anxious or like I feel nervous, I want to like, oh, I don't. I try to resist that. It's like, no, I accept it. It is what it is. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Right? And I bring what's on the inside outside as part of the acceptance. I'm not hiding it anymore. So acceptance. And then previously, I have been stuck there. And this was because anything I did, I felt like I was invalidating the emotion. I was trying to change it, like, no, you're wrong. So any attempt to change it, I felt like it was invalidating the emotion. So I was stuck here. The thing I've learned from improv is yes, and, right? So I accept the emotion and I can play around with it. I can change the frame. I can decode the emotion. This is one of the things I do is when I'm angry, it's like, oh, what does anger mean? Always, in every situation. And then specifically, what was I angry about in this one situation? Right? So I do something about it. I don't just accept it and be like angry and I just stop. Right? So I decode it, saying like, oh, it's either failure to achieve a desired outcome, so I try to do something, I keep failing, and I get frustrated, or something came that I wasn't expecting, a negative outcome, so failure to expect an undesirable outcome. Those are the two things I decode anger with. Right? So I do something, I play with it, I look at it differently, I play with it like a puzzle. And with improv, I can even exaggerate it. I can um, give it a voice. I can play around with it, and then act. I choose a different action instead of being paralyzed by it. It's like, yep, I feel anxiety and I'm stuck. I guess I'll just accept being stuck. No, right? There is more I can do. Acceptance is not the only thing I can do. I can still play without invalidating the original emotion. Same thing with inside a scene, we don't invalidate the person's choice of saying like, "Oh, here's a car." It's like it's not a car, it's a pony. It's like that's invalidating. So I accept the offer, so my emotions offer like, oh, you're terrible, and I can play around with that. It's like, I am terrible. I am the worst. Oh, and then I keep doing, I don't want to brush my teeth. Yeah, and then I can do that while I'm brushing my teeth, and so the action. So I got these 4 words. And then I asked it, this is one of my tests, is, okay, now that I have this, extrapolate it to everything you know. Test these 4 words, this model, to see if it can explain everything in the known universe that you know. And it comes back with, yes, that everything, including physical sciences, psychology, everything in its database can be covered under notice, acceptance. We can play and generate different possibilities, and then we pick one of them to collapse the rest, right? So we first have to notice a problem. We have to accept that it's real, let go of any emotional arguments about it, resistance to it. Then we can play and generate possibilities. Like, okay, if this is true, what can we do? And once we've played, we can pick one of them as the action. So notice, accept, play, act. True. Those are the 4 words. So the other thing is I asked it to create expand these quadrants. Does this cover everything? And it says, kind of, right? This is a 2D graph, but you can make it 3D by adding a z-axis, saying like, oh, this is the level of consciousness that somebody's at. And somebody who only believes in one worldview and that's the right view, well, that's kind of a lower, more limited consciousness. And somebody who sees multiple different perspectives and accepts them and allows them, but still are able to operate, that would be somebody with higher levels of consciousness. So the z-axis axes is the levels of consciousness that a person's at, And then there's actually a T dimension, which is the dimension of time. Depending on what time you are, you may be spiraling through all four dimensions. But once you come back to the first one, you're actually at a different place. So you're actually spiraling upwards through time. So yeah, that is the new model that was derived yesterday through plugging in the observations of improv plus truth sense plus argument, and then it generated this model, and then it extrapolated that into all my other things, which is I notice my emotions, I first accept them and end the internal war, and then now I get to play around with them and not have it trap me. And then I pick one, or I still act. Anyways, so that's the model. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to work on heading to dance, and yep. So I did a video today, even though I didn't feel like it. It felt terrible in the beginning. And now it still feels kind of moderately okay, but at least I explain this model. What is it called? Coherence versus imagination, improvisation, uh, truth versus improvise. I don't have a name for this model yet. Um, I will ask my computer to generate some names, and I can start picking from them. But this is the 4 words, the 4 steps, or something is the biggest breakthrough. All right, I love you all. Until next time, bye.